the companies in America spend less than $5,000 a month on digital marketing.
Wow.
So like all those companies, like the majority of those are on social media, and a lot of them are paying for social media ads and everything. But like they can't afford to pay an agency like north of 1K a month just for their social media.
Yeah.
And they can't afford to hire someone in house. So it's like the business owner or their niece, their nephew, or some weird job title ends up doing the social media, right? It's just a massive missed opportunity. So if you can provide a solution, like it would be nice to get like large enterprises that would pay us a lot of money, but if you can provide a solution for all those small businesses around the world that like don't have a good solution for social media and allows them to compete with much larger marketing teams, and you can charge them, €100-200 a month for it. It's a tenth of the price of an agency, and it does 95% of the work.
Here we go. And we are off. Welcome to episode 16 of The Paradigm Shift, where a moment in time can make or break a person. And on this show, we talk about how it made people. Today, I'm joined by the co-founder of an app called Connect More, or software rather, called Connect More, James Flynn. Want to go right into the conversation, see what we can learn, get some gems for the people, and see how this can improve all of our lives. So, take the stage.
Hi. Thanks for the intro, Tunji. So my name's James. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Connect More. We're actually just rebranding the company in the next few weeks to Coso. So,
Coso.
Essentially what we do is we use AI to help marketers create social media content. Initially, we had a product that we built that was kind of like a bit like Google Analytics for social media, and now we're pivoting more into the kind of the AI space. So we're becoming Coso, which is your social media co-pilot. That's my baby. So we've been at it now for the last couple of years, figuring stuff out, building it, pivoting a small bit. Here we are.
Okay, pivoting is always part of always part of the game.
Exactly.
Right, so we're going to go straight into the first question. Tell us about a paradigm shift that happened in your life that could have either made you better or the opposite, but ultimately a lesson you learned.
Yeah. Just tying a lesson I learned into it is kind of putting me on the spot. But I think probably just recently with the business, we had to make a choice whether or not we were going to continue with it. So we've been at it for the last couple of years, and basically over the course of last year, we kind of tried to scale our revenue. And we did a small bit, but we didn't get anywhere near enough to cover all our expenses and actually get to a point where we're kind of self-sufficient and could raise a round of investment. So we've been at it a couple of years at that point, and we were effectively like running out of money for last year. And over the course of the year, we're just slowly running out of money. We could see it month by month, the balance going down. And we effectively did run out of money right by October and November. And we had to make a choice. Well, realistically, we knew we were going to run out of money in like September, right? So we had to make a choice about whether we're not in a couple of years. Do we continue with the company and kind of try and fix the issues that are stopping us from scaling quicker? Or else do we just say, listen, we had a good run and kind of pack it in? And it wasn't very clear at the time. There was a couple months there where we were kind of thinking, well, to be honest, the actual duration of time where we were anyway considering packing it in was probably a couple of days. But like over the course of that time, we were figuring out like what our next steps were and stuff like that. So I think it wasn't really clear what to do, and we didn't really necessarily clear a path forward, but we kind of made a decision to try and figure out the path forward. So rather than call it quits, we said, right, what can we do to be in a good position in kind of 6 or 12 months time and with the company? And like we put a lot of work into it. We got some really cool technology working really well, and we just need to change how we kind of productize the technology basically. Right. So we went back and we just started talking to loads of customers kind of back last like September, October time, back to basics, like mom tests, if you're familiar. What are your problems, solutions, like how are you solving those problems at the moment? And then we did like about 35 different user interviews. We came up with a load of different problem statements for those customers, and then we were like, cool, how can we tie this back into our existing technology we built? And then at the end of last year, we basically rebuilt a new version of the product in like a prototype form. And we were able to get about 30 businesses to like essentially give us a letter of intent that they'd pay for it once we build it.
Mhm.
And now we're doing that process at the moment. We're planning on launching a new version of software in like Q2. But there was a few months there where we were very much like, what do we do here? We had no clear direction forward. We're just running out of money. No answers to like how we can stop running out of money or like what we're going to do. So it was a really tough time. But yeah, no, definitely. That's the most recent one. There's probably others if I go further back, like, but
Yeah, let's go further back. Let's go further back.
Cool. I don't know, how far do you want to go back?
Whatever the most significant one was.
The most significant. I know I should have this answer ready to go. Probably should have had it prepared. Like, but I know there's lots of there's a million different things. I'm sure same for yourself, right? Over the years,
Of course.
and it's kind of hard to plot like what the most significant one is because there's a lot of like butterfly effect going on.
Mm-hmm.
So like I only went to if you we go back a bit, but like I essentially was a bit of a not an introvert, but like I wasn't really good at socializing as a teenager.
Yeah.
I kind of like video games, so I went more and more into myself, and I started playing tons of video games. And I was trying to be a professional video gamer for a while. Like, that's how much I was playing Call of Duty back in the day.
Okay.
But so then I was like, cool, I need to go to college, right? And the only reason I went to college was to make video games. I was like, cool, that'd be grand. And I had actually had a game design course down as my first choice. And like on the last day of the CAO, I changed it to be computer science instead, because if I didn't, just in case I didn't end up wanting to make games, if I do computer science, it's more general. I can kind of do other stuff with it. So I did that, and then, but I just literally just wanted to make video games. It's the only reason I went to college to do computer science. Yeah. And halfway through the course, then I kind of realized that I didn't want to make video games. I was just in a computer science course. I almost dropped out, but I was too scared to drop out.
Okay.
So I didn't know what to do, so I just kept going to college. And then I got an internship in third year that was with a finance company, and I loved it. So they offered me a job after college if I just finished my degree.
Yeah.
Then I ended up working at a finance company that it was like a stockbroker, like high frequency trading, quantitative trading stuff. If you're like algorithms to trade stock.
Yeah.
So I was working on the infrastructure for them, and then I got interested in the stock market through that, and then I got interested in when I started trading stocks. Then I was reading business books and stuff, and then I was very attracted to the smaller. Basically, I went down a rabbit hole of like reading startup related books, and then I started having ideas for startups, and then when I was leaving that company after a couple of years, I was like, cool. I wasn't really comfortable enough to go into a startup. I didn't know how to get a job in a startup, and I wasn't comfortable enough to actually start one myself.
Yeah.
So I ended up working for a way bigger company with Salesforce, and I was there like a month, and I was like, I made a terrible decision. That was like the impetus to actually go and start a startup then.
Right.
Yeah, but it all came because I played video games when I was a teenager, right?
Yeah. So, okay, that's really interesting. So I guess that's the paradigm shift right there. You know, that's like a big major change. It was going one trajectory, but you said last minute just pivoted, and as a result of that pivot, you ended up becoming an entrepreneur, right? Starting your own, founding your own company. Like that is a paradigm shift right there. Like you could have went the other route and just, probably never made your own video game, depending. But I guess reading all the business books and learning about stocks, it kind of brought that entrepreneurial side of you out, right?
Yeah, no, 100%, yeah. It's definitely interesting. I only got into college on a lotto as well.
Yeah.
As a tangent, because
same here.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that true? Like so mine was like there was more than one person on the amount of points to get into the college course.
Yeah. No, yeah, I applied for 20 places. I only got one offer.
Yeah, okay.
I only got one offer. So like whatever one took me, I just went into, and it ended up being engineering. So
Okay, yeah,
I ended up becoming a mechanical engineer. So
nice.
that's currently what I'm doing until
Yeah,
until next week, and then I quit my job. I'm gonna travel the world with my wife. So that's a big paradigm shift for us right now.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Are you can you keep up the podcast?
Oh yeah, no, this isn't stopping. This is a
Nice,
minimum of 10 years.
nice.
It's
I
a
like
10
it.
year play. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
do things for a long amount of time and they'll be successful, right? Doesn't matter
100%,
what you do. If you just do it long enough, it'll work.
100%. I
Yeah.
think that's the principle that I'm keeping in that
Yeah.
area. You know. So tell me, how did the commencement of Connect More start? Like, tell us what it is, and then go into how did you give birth to the idea?
Um. So yeah. So basically, what we do is um, and what we're I guess like once again we're rebuilding the product, right? So like,
Yeah.
but what we will do. Well, the whole concept has been based around competitors of businesses the whole time and their
Hmm.
social media accounts. And with
Hmm.
social media, you can kind of see what content performs well and not so well because you can track likes, comments, and shares on different content. So long term, the plan was always to use that to kind of some sort of AI to like create content automatically for businesses.
Hmm.
But initially, we kind of built like what effectively was like Google Analytics for social media businesses,
Yeah.
and it was just reporting the data because we didn't have like enough funding to build the AI to actually produce the content. Um, And then obviously over the last like year or so, AI has become free essentially.
Yeah.
Really, really advanced AI systems like OpenAI, Bard, Google's new thing. You've got DALI, Stable
Hmm.
Diffusion. Like there's tons and tons of these.
Yeah. It came out of
Um,
nowhere as well.
yeah. Well, it's all like the been building like for the last couple of years. I think like being
Hmm.
very involved in the space, you can kind of see you could see stuff kind of starting to happen, and then it was like a watershed moment with the new
Mm.
Chat GPT thing.
Okay.
Um, that just like I don't know, it's just a really nice interface to the systems. Um, but yeah, so anyway, so now we're kind of like slightly pivoted. So we're just leaning more into the AI stuff because we thought we were going to need millions of investment to get to that, and now it's
Mm.
like very cheap. So now, like going forward, basically, essentially what we're doing is we're combining companies' existing media libraries and existing marketing material with the kind of latest social media trends, um, and cross-referencing those to generate content automatically for businesses. So we'll effectively be like for social media marketers, typically they've got like a content calendar. They'll plan out like 5 days of the week. This is what we do: user-generated content on a Monday. We do, kind of industry-specific posts on a Tuesday, maybe how-to posts on a Wednesday,
Mm.
and so on. And we could basically work with the businesses to like automatically figure out what themes they should do on each day, and then automatically create content within those, tying into their existing Google Drive or whatever with their media. And then they get basically the marketer gets an email Monday morning at 9 a.m. being like, hey, we've created these posts for you. Just you want to review them and click. And then they're automatically scheduled at the times that most of their audience are online to actually interact with the content.
Wow.
So that will be live in some form by like May, June.
Okay.
We should be beta testing it in March into April, and then it should be kind of widely live May into June.
Great.
So that's what we're building, right? So
Great.
that's connected. Um, Back in like October 2018, I was in a pub, and people were giving out about their jobs, basically.
Yeah.
So my friend worked for a marketing agency at the time, and some of his colleagues were basically just giving out that whenever they signed a new client up their marketing agency, they needed to look at the competitors to the new client to kind of bootstrap their marketing strategy for the new client, or even if they were running a new campaign or anything like that. And like they're literally marketers on their phones in the office, like scrolling through Instagram on
Hmm.
like on their phones. Um, so it seemed like something that was a bit inefficient.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, well, why isn't it automated? And they were like, we don't know. I was like, cool. So I went off and I started looking into it. And then I got a bit of a background in AI from college. So like my undergrad thesis was a system that like simulated games of chess against itself to like learn strategy, basically. So then when I started looking at that, I was like, okay, cool. You can automate competitive analysis bit, but then you can also build AI systems to learn based on that data, and start producing content.
Yeah.
So over the last kind of like 4 years, there was back in like October 2018. I only went into it full time in the middle of 2020. So it's like 2 years there where I was looking at this for a bit, and then I was looking at a few other startup ideas, and I just kept coming back to this basically, and then yeah, went into full time then 2.5 years ago.
Hey, that's very interesting. Okay, so first and foremost, kudos to you for actually taking the jump, right? Because there's only what 10% of the population worldwide are entrepreneurs, right? And out of that 10%, 90% fail. So the fact you managed to survive for 2 years is definitely worth the props. You
Thanks,
know,
I appreciate that. I didn't know 10% actually seems quite high for the amount of entrepreneurs in the world. I would have guessed it was lower.
yeah, it's funny enough. Yeah, I think, but we need to include mom and pop stores, you know,
Yeah, yeah, I suppose.
and pubs,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
and franchises, you know.
Yeah, I
So,
still I don't know. Yeah, that would
yeah.
mean the average business has 10 people working for it, right? Roughly.
Um.
If you assume 100% of people work, but like,
Okay. Okay. I get you. I get you.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I guess most, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, it's actually that would make sense. That 90% or 95% of businesses have less than 10 people working for them, I think. So that
Hey.
cancels out the massive conglomerates, I suppose.
Yeah. 95% of businesses have less than 10 people working at them.
Yeah,
Oh,
roughly.
that's a cool stat. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as you're on this journey, you know, can you actually? This is probably a bit off topic, but can you detail a little bit about how it is to be an entrepreneur? Like, because the uncertainty, because it's glamorized on the internet, especially now recently, it's been glamorized a lot.
Yeah.
Let's go into the nitty gritty details to make people realize what it is that they're actually signing up for.
I think like, so yeah, most entrepreneurs fail, right? And that's a statement people hear a lot.
Yeah.
But what that actually means is that, like, for most people, is you've worked on something for a couple, like, say, 2 years, 60 or 70 hours a week, and at the end of that 2 years, you have nothing to show for it,
Mm.
which is really depressing.
Yeah.
Beyond the skills that you can learn along the way, like, and depending who you are, like that, we set out with Connect More because it's our first like business, myself and my co-founder, and we were like, the half the thing of this is just learning. So even if we fail, we haven't really failed. Like,
Yeah.
we've
Skill
learned
set.
we've learned loads of the skills that we wanted to learn anyway, even if everything
Sure.
goes down the shitter like in the next 6 to 12 months. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
No, you
Uh,
can't. That's fine.
um. So yeah, I described it before. It's just effectively like getting up every day and like screaming into like a large pit for 8 hours and then walking away and then come back the following day and doing it again repeatedly until something happens.
Yeah.
It's like it's very tough going, and it's really hard to see if you're making progress,
Hmm.
uh, especially like when you're a first time founder. Like, you don't even know like what progress looks like, and
Yeah.
you make you make way more mistakes than things you get right,
Yeah.
like every week. So it's very like it's very tough going. Like, last year was a really really tough year. Like, when the business looked like we might be out, like we looked like we might be out of business last
Mm.
year, at one point, like, and it was, yeah, it was hard going. Like, it's definitely
I'd
like
say so.
I'm like I can say this from like a bit of a privileged position, that like I grew up like very middle class.
Yeah.
I didn't have like any major struggles. Like, I'm straight, white, and Irish, and I live in Ireland.
Yeah.
That gets rid of loads of problems for me.
I guess
Uh,
so. Yeah. But
but
you know.
like, so I can, and I had a relatively grand upbringing. But like, I can, so that's the context. But this is definitely by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Um, and they say for like a lot of entrepreneurs, like, it will be the hardest thing people do in their lives.
Hmm.
And it's tough as well sometimes, because you're trying to, like, you can feel really really down on a given day or on a given week or whatever, if stuff's not going well. But it does feel very much like first world problems as well, right? Because you're like, oh, like, my biggest problem is that I'm trying to like get rich and it's not going well. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to really simplify it, like, but so like, it's then you can kind of, you get annoyed at yourself for being in, like, for feeling down,
Hmm.
which obviously very counterproductive.
Yep. I know.
So you start it's you kind of you build a lot of resilience, a lot of character. It destroys ego. Like I was very ego driven, like when I started this. So that's part of the reason why we haven't scaled as much as we wanted over the last couple of years, is because we kind of assumed that we could build a solution for people.
Hmm.
And we were like, this will work. We'll build a solution and people will
Hmm.
use it. People will love it.
Hmm.
And then after like effectively trying to like grow the business for most of last year, it's like, well, we don't really like, okay, we didn't build the correct solution, right? The
Yeah,
scalable solution. So it just destroys your ego as well, which is a good thing. I think overall, if you can like survive that.
definitely.
But yeah, that's the gist of it. But like,
Okay.
I just like the other thing is as well is you hear all these like, like overnight success doesn't exist, right? It's
Hmm.
the thing. And you hear about all these stories about like most founders that you hear about that have done well have like one of two scenarios has happened. One is it's like their second, third, fourth, fifth company, and the first everyone before that failed.
Hmm.
Or two, they've been working at this for like 5 years in the dark with like very little to show for it, and
Yeah,
after like 5 years, it's like, oh, it takes off.
yeah. It takes 5 years, 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of the glamour, I guess.
Okay.
I still
Yeah.
recommend
So,
it. Like, I really like it. It's
oh,
class.
100%, because it's the autonomy. It's like, you're literally building something from scratch. It's to say that, like, you built it. It's
Yeah,
yours, right?
yeah,
Instead of just kind of moving in when something's already established and you're not really adding anything to to whatever it is. You're actually starting something. Like you're
yeah,
conjuring it, basically, right?
yeah. Like I'm sure you
Gr-
had that when with the even with the podcast, right? When you got the first viewer, like the first tick or the first 10 viewers or
Yeah.
listeners, like it's like that feeling is just that nothing will ever beat like that sort of feeling. And just the
Yeah.
mad adrenaline dump you get from like seeing a number go up one on a dashboard. You're like, so,
Right. Yeah, it's crazy
uh,
because I've recently started building the TikTok and the like YouTube Shorts and stuff like that. So I'm putting up a lot of condensed versions of the episodes,
yeah,
and with that, it's getting so many views. I'm seeing 3,000 views here. I'm seeing 2,000 views here. I'm seeing
nice.
growth happening on a YouTube channel. People are subscribing now, you
Yeah,
know, and I'm like, oh wow. So okay, so people are actually subscribing from the shorts. Let's just hope they can. I'm trying, like, the shorts is to bring people over to the long form
yeah,
content, right? That's really what draws them in. So I bring them in that way. So it's came for the shorts, stayed for the long form.
yeah,
That's kind of the principle. But ultimately, I'm trying to build a community around the podcast,
yeah,
try and build it to as big as I can, and to also highlight things like this because, you know, I never heard about Connect More, but who knows? Maybe somebody that's listening right now could be a business owner and say, "Well, Connect More could potentially help me with my business," and that's why I do this, right? And yeah, so I just think it's really interesting. And once again, I'll give anybody their props because they're willing to go out there and actually start something. I actually would compare the process that you're going through right now to getting into the boxing ring, because I'm actually a boxer and rated number 2 in the country, super heavyweight, and getting into the ring, the nerves that you feel because it's so uncertain. Yeah, you've trained all of that stuff, but ultimately, like, when you finally get there, you'll realize, all of the training that I've put in, it's all for this, one moment.
yeah,
And like, entrepreneurship is the same because you're taking a walk into uncertainty. You don't know what the outcome is going to be, but you're just doing it anyway. And
yeah.
that we need to see more of that stuff.
100%. Like your job is to show up for training 5 or 6 days a week, right? Like
Fact.
that's
Yeah.
that's the job to get
Yeah.
into the ring. You do that bit for free in theory.
Yeah.
Like you probably would. Like you're
Yeah.
getting paid for the other like 364 days a year.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Which is, very, very, very significant. And the big jump that we're taking right now, the paradigm shift for me and my wife, is that we are quitting our jobs. We handed in our notices and we're going to go and start traveling. But while we're doing that, it's not like we're just going to just travel and do nothing with the time. I'm gonna try and build this even more. I'm gonna get more guests on. I'm gonna use more time to get more guests on, and I'm also on the side building a marketing company, which is why this episode is actually very interesting. You know, so you know that's basically why I thought this would be a really interesting conversation. Um,
Yeah, definitely. How's the marketing company go?
it's literally still in the beginning stages, so that's why I wanted to basically buy my time back by saying, okay, let me just focus on absolutely nothing else but this, and at least I have a buffer to try and make this work for us for the next like 4 months. So we have a 4 month stint that I work on it like full time. That's all
Yeah,
we'll be doing, that and
that's
traveling.
yeah,
So that's mainly what I want to do. So right now, it's literally just building um, a marketing agency to help dentists and facial estheticians and stuff like that to try and get more clients through their social media. You know, so uh, that's kind of how it is right now. But we're looking into the short form content. You've probably
yeah,
saw the podcast page and short form, and you've probably seen it on YouTube Shorts and stuff like that. The way they have the cool captions and all of that stuff. So it's to try and build their personal brands through that. So content marketing, as I like to call it. And when I heard about Connect More, I'm just like, oh wow, Connect More could definitely make my job easier. You know, because I could get that and use that same software for my own clients. You know, and that seems like a game changer. That's why I want to find out more.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. It's we'll see. Like the thing, like and you look at the stats, like they kind of. Like, even if you look at America, this is not full sales pitch mode, but like even if you look at America, in terms of like companies and how much they spend on digital marketing,
Hmm.
there's about half the companies in America spend less than $5,000 a month on digital marketing.
Wow.
So like all those companies, like the majority of those are on social media, and a lot of them are paying for social media ads and everything.
Hmm.
But like they can't afford to pay an agency like north of 1K
UK a
a month
month.
just for
Yeah.
their social media.
Yeah.
And they can't afford to hire someone in house. So it's like the
Hmm.
business owner or their niece, their nephew, or some weird job title ends up doing the social media, right? And it's just a massive
Yeah.
missed opportunity. So if you can provide a solution, like it would be nice to get like large enterprises that would pay us a lot of money,
Hmm.
but if you can provide a solution for all those small businesses around the world that like don't have a good solution for social media and allows them to
Hmm.
compete with much larger marketing teams,
Hmm.
you can charge them, 100-200 euro a month for it.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a tenth of the price of an agency and it does 95% of the work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what
That's really
I
interesting. And
yeah.
would you ever consider selling to agency owners?
Uh, yes, so that's actually one of the verticals we're exploring.
Okay.
So few agencies as customers at the moment. Typically those are agencies that like don't. So like just as two examples, like so we have an agency that's like a full service marketing and creative agency,
Hmm.
and they offer social media to their clients, but it's not like their core service.
Hmm.
So like they were like, cool, Connect More will help us produce content. We'll minimize time producing that content because it's not what we specialize in.
Hmm.
Um, and similarly, we have like an e-commerce agency that we chatted to, and they were like, "Oh yeah, our clients are actually just looking for us to do organic content, but like we don't have the skill set.
Yeah.
So we're going to use Connect More to help us produce the organic content, and they like what they do for their clients is more of around like paid social and stuff.
Mm.
So like those sorts of agencies that don't specialize in social and like don't really want to be doing social in a lot of
Hmm.
cases. But their clients are like, oh, would you do social for us? And the
Hmm.
agency is like, that'll be extra money, or like, no, it's not worth a while to do it, or
Hmm.
like, once again, these kind of weird like little like setups where like agencies don't want to be doing it, their clients are asking it for them, and because their clients give them money for services, the agency will do it. But like they don't want to hire a social media marketer themselves. They don't want to get one of
Yeah.
their other marketers spend time on it. It's like all those people. Once again, it's just like, well, you just have a software that does most of the thing for you automatically, and then
Yeah.
you can offer the service to your clients, and you can, whether you want to do it for free, or like as a complimentary service, or you want to tack on an extra 100 quid a month to the couple grand they're paying you for the rest of your services. Um, and you can kind of do that. So yes, in short,
Hey.
yeah,
Right. So I would be interested, definitely. If we talk after this, I'd be interested in exploring this while I'm taking the break to try and see what I can do to implement this into my own thing. That'd be very
yeah,
cool.
definitely. We can send you the, Figma, the design
Figma.
software. So
No.
it's like for doing prototypes and design and stuff. So we've got like a clickable prototype at the moment in Figma that's like
Okay.
not active, and then the
Great.
plan is to have the actual first interactive prototype by the middle of March.
Great.
That we're going to be handing off to kind of some early adopters to kind of give us feedback on it. So we can include you on that list if you want.
Definitely. I'd be really, very interested in that. So yeah, okay, cool. In terms of so Connect More then puts together all of the social potential, so like the things that you can't do. So the target market is for the businesses that can't afford to pay an agency 1 or 2K per month, and also can't afford to hire a full-time content or marketing person. For smaller businesses that kind of have a marketing budget of, let's just say, 5K per month, you charge them like 90% of what they would typically be charged, and uh,
10% of what they typically be
oh,
charged.
sorry, 10% of what an agency would charge them for,
Yeah,
and you'd be doing the same work, right?
yeah,
So
mate.
so what kind of things would be created? Like, do you need to, like, let's just say I'm a business owner now. Do I need to upload all of my photos and stuff like that from my business onto the Connect More app? Like, how does that work?
So typically, what like the way it will work is that just to clarify as well, like we have we've got about 10-ish verticals in terms of like looking at a few different types of agencies, a few different types of small businesses. So like hospitality businesses, e-commerce businesses,
Mm.
traditional retailers. Like, so we don't really know exactly who like our key kind of
Yeah,
first
yeah,
market
yeah.
or something like that.
Whatever one sticks.
Exactly. So over the
Right.
next couple, I'm effectively just cold emailing, cold calling, like
Mm-hmm.
a few hundred businesses to see like which ones kind of we get a bit of response from. That's
Mm.
the plan basically. Once again,
Interesting.
it's a grind, like it's screaming into a void every day until you get something.
Yeah.
But like it is what it is, you know. But on a
Okay.
yacht watching the Grand Prix in a few years, I'll be like, this is good fun. But
Exactly.
yeah, sorry, what was your actual question? Sorry.
No, so like what is like, how would Connect More be like used? So we know that it gives you at 9 o'clock every Monday morning, it gives you like a strategy or what type of content to upload based off the algorithms, what typically does well on which day.
Yeah, yeah.
How would you upload that content? Do you upload it or does it actually create it for you?
Yeah, so what we do is we tie into so like most businesses realistically are on Google Drive, some are on Dropbox and some are
Hmm.
on like SharePoint or whatever, like Microsoft. So in like for the next few months, we're just focused on Google Drive because that gets most of our market. And
Yep.
basically we'll integrate with your Google Drive where all your media assets are.
Hmm.
So all your right now pictures, but in a few months we'll videos as well. And basically, what we'll do is we look at the trends for social media in general, or if like depending if you're basically if you give us your competitors, we'll look at your competitors specifically,
Hmm.
and we can see like this week say what's spending for your competitors. So say it might be like what like Barcelona, the United match was on last night. That could be trending for sports brands. There's probably stuff trending, unfortunately, about the earthquake in Turkey for a lot of brands because they're
Yep.
talking about it, or the thing happening in Ohio in America potentially.
Yeah.
Um, like whatever's in the news basically is usually
Hmm.
what a lot of brands are posting about. With some other stuff like jewelry brands, obviously Valentine's Day just happened, so like chocolate, jewelry, clothes.
Mm.
You so basically we can look at that for similar brands to your own, see what the kind of trends are and the top performing content from within those trends,
Hmm.
and we can basically use that content to generate like text posts for yourself, right?
Hey, right.
And what we can also do, like a cool bit of technology we built, like reverse image search on Google, where you can like right click on an image and hit search the web for this image,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
Google will basically search for similar images.
Okay.
Um, we built that ourselves internally that works pretty much the exact same. So what we can do then is we know what posts have performed the best for the like those trends.
Hmm.
So then we can find from your marketing material your most visually similar images to the images that were with those posts, and
Hmm.
we can like map them across. So we can use your marketing material with the text that we've generated to like generate full posts for you,
Ah.
and we do that dynamically. So like it's not quite there yet where it works fully automatically, but then the idea
Yeah.
is on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. you have say 5 posts for the week, one per day,
Hmm.
um, that are according to these themes that you have agreed that you want to do. So like user generated content versus like how to posts, etc.
Hmm.
And you can basically just click the email, you like a quick little window. Yeah, that's fine. I'll edit this one and say, because maybe you think it doesn't suit your brand tone of voice, whatever, you can quickly edit it or change.
Yeah.
We'll basically give you kind of alternative images from your material that you can use. And like this one, and I don't want to post this one at all, so we can like generate one dynamically for to place the fifth one.
Okay.
And we'll automatically post those images. Like, well, you can choose if you want to post them at a time, but like we know basically what times of the day people are interacting with your content and your competitors' content most.
Mhm.
So then we can automatically schedule those posts to go up at like 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, etc. throughout the week. So that it maximizes the chance of like your customers actually seeing and engaging with content as well.
Okay. Right. And does it do the captions as well?
Yeah. So like in terms of the captions, you mean like the text under the posts?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the crux of it, really, is like we generate the captions based on the captions for the best performing posts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That is a lot.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch this just to wrap my brain around it again. That is.
Yeah, so the net result for like a user is that they basically just get all these posts generated that like will perform well with that should perform well with their audience and use their actual marketing material to influence them, and they can just agree, and then they don't think about it for the rest of the week. The posts just go up.
Yeah. So the key selling point there is you don't need to do anything. These posts are automatically generated for you. You don't need to hire an in-house marketer, and you don't need to hire an agency to do this stuff for you either.
Yeah.
You can do it all in-house.
Yeah, and what we can do as well is like later on this year, what we might look at is, say there's a social media post that performs particularly well for you, then what we can do is use AI to automatically extrapolate that into like a longer form blog post that you can stick up on your website.
Wow. That's sick.
Yeah, for example, so it's all these we get this kind of working, or we can expand it as well to do like actual ad content. So similarly, you can track how well ads perform. Like, there's kind of ways to go about it. So we can get like top performing ads around different topics and different times of the year, whatever, and then we can like use your media library to like generate ads for your business automatically. And yeah, we're just vibing, really.
Okay, interesting. Now, in terms of clientele, so I know you said you had some clients from the last one. Do you have any clients that you currently have under the system?
Yeah, so there's about 10 businesses at the moment that are paying us to use basically the initial product still.
Yeah.
So they're a mixture of like marketing agencies and small businesses.
Okay.
Like a couple of hospitality businesses. We had a crypto company, but I think they're gone now. A handful of marketing agencies that are kind of across Ireland, the UK, and North America. And a couple other businesses as well.
Okay. What's the old proposition? The old model.
So part of so it's monthly subscription, €50 a month is kind of what we have. So with the old model, like, we didn't actually know exactly what our value proposition was to all our clients, which was part of the problem.
Yeah.
Myself and my co-founder are both engineers, so we basically approached this as like, this is a really cool engineering problem, let's go solve it. And then we made a lot of progress on solving the engineering problem. We're like, wait, how do we actually build this into a product people want to use?
Yeah.
So we kind of looked at that, and then we have like a few different apps inside it. Kind of like, it's very similar to Google Analytics, if anyone listening is familiar with that. Basically, there's, you can kind of see a dashboard that shows a summary of all for yourself and all your competitors, like who's performing the best, what times of day they're posting, the hashtags that do the best for those companies, what they talk about that perform the best, and all that. And then you can explore the data points, so you can see like the underlying posts behind any good performing hashtags, or at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, like what are people posting, and that sort of stuff. Or you can see for individual competitors, like if you're Nike, you can see what Adidas, how they're doing on Instagram, and what all the rest performing content is and stuff. So it kind of allows you to create. So it's kind of solving the same problem, just way worse.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is it's helping people produce social media content. Like, something that we hear from our clients is that like it helps them with their ideation process, right?
Okay. Yeah.
For a lot of businesses, like, they'll say if they want to post 5 days a week, the first 3 days they'll know what they're going to post about, and it's like the Thursday, Friday they're trying to come up with stuff, right?
Yeah.
So trying to use this for at the moment is extra ideas about what to post about, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So like once again, the content problem, like getting content on social media, but like the idea is with the new product and based on feedback, it seems promising. We just, instead of having them to kind of look at like Google Analytics or whatever, where they're looking at the dashboard and they have to make their own like assumptions based on the data. So like then you actually need people who kind of know what they're what they're doing to be using it, which is a bit of a contradiction because we're like, well, we're building it for people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, okay.
That's a bit of a mismatch that we've like been trying to overcome and find like where our niche is in that like gray area somewhere in the middle where like people kind of know a bit about social media and marketing, but like, don't know enough that we're not useful for them.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're just like, sorry, go on.
No, go on, finish.
I was just gonna say like now we're building something that's like actually like just you don't need to like okay, you probably need to know like some tiny amount, but like you don't need to be a marketer to use the new product or anything. You don't need to actually mental effort into figuring out stuff. We just do that automatically for you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This sounds like a product that you don't know that you need until it's there. Kind of like how ChatGPT kind of just showed up, and now all of a sudden, I honestly can't see my life without it.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't. It's something that I didn't know I needed until it was like there, and this really sounds like something like that.
Yeah. Well, is the the Henry Ford classic? Like, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So and obviously he went on to invent the car, like just for context for anyone listening. But like, yeah, no, it's the thing. Like, even if you go back to 2007, like no one like what's an iPhone, like you know. Like everyone had their flip phones and people wanted like bigger flip phones or they wanted like better version. They wanted Snake 3 or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like Apple drop an iPhone and everyone's like, Jesus, this is like this. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
And that's the same way with all this AI stuff. Like we kind of even like we have another app in the background that we might be kind of like launching in the next month or two, depending if we get time to. That's called like Revision Ninja, and it took us an hour to put together because we already have the AI stuff done from like Connect More.
Yeah.
So basically, you paste in college notes and it generates revision questions for you. And it's really simple. It just links into ChatGPT, basically and we just send a query to ChatGPT and just get the response and just print the response. Like, so it took us an hour to put together, which is like very straightforward.
I've seen a lot of people do kind of like a white label type of thing with ChatGPT. Kind of ChatGPT is the behind like the bottom, the foundational layer, and then they put like a business thing on top of it. So I've actually seen a couple of people that are using ChatGPT as a way to sell other businesses on a system that can memorize all of your databases and use all of this information from the inputs and stuff like that. Like, it's a real AI is really changing everything.
It's going to be mad, like all the little hacks. Like even something we were talking about last night was doing something that would just recommend you stuff to do in any city in the world. This might be relevant if you actually imminently. But basically, you can just do that and just like send it to like GPT-3, like ChatGPT, top 10 things to do, and just like whatever the city name is. So you just get something to say Dublin, and then it'll just return like a load of things to do in Dublin or like London, whatever, because it just like knows.
That can really work.
You can just skin that and stick it on as a standalone website like travel.ai or whatever, and then you don't even need to charge for it. You can just run ads on it, and if you have 10,000 people a month coming on and typing in the question, then you're making ads.
100%. Like, and like there's a million ways to skin a cat right now. The way things are, I think inaction is probably the biggest killer of anybody in this moment in time. I think this is going to be the biggest change. This introduction with the AI that's here, accessible to everyone on a ground level, it's going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I feel like, to be honest, this is my version of Web 3.0, because I never did crypto or anything. And because I was like I was working on this basically for the last few years, like NFTs and stuff, and then I just kind of stayed a bit away from crypto before that. But it's like the initial web, you had like the static, like 90s web or whatever, is like very, very static. And then like you had the web 2.0, which is more about like the dynamic web. So it like worked on mobile phones, and all this stuff. And you got web 3, which is like the AI empowered web, which is like where AI is just baked into everything and everything's
Yeah.
hyper intelligent and like stuff just knows what you want to do without you having to select it from a drop down or
Yeah.
enter a lengthy thing. And you just, you can just look for, kind of Google Maps is kind of interesting the way you can go like shops near me,
Mm-hmm.
and like it'll show you shops that are near you.
Mm.
But like that will work in 6 to 12 months is you go shops near me and it will do that, but it will prioritize them. Like I don't even know if it already does it, but like it will prioritize them based on like, okay, cool. When you say shops, you like these sorts of shops and you don't like
Yeah.
these sorts of shops. So we're gonna highlight, the shops that you like.
Yeah. That's
Um
crazy.
yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
it's really, really interesting.
I'm really excited to see how this all goes. Really excited. I'm really observant because I just feel like there's so much opportunity now for people if they really jumped on something. Something. It doesn't even matter because either way, you're gonna learn something. You know,
Yeah. But
so many skills to be acquired at this time.
yeah, 100%. Like it's mad. Like I don't want to use the phrase gold rush, I guess. That's kind of negative connotations, I think. But like, I don't know. There's just like it's like a whole new paradigm. It's kind of like a bit as well. Like there was the computer, then there was the internet, and now there's like democratized AI that like anyone can just use AI systems for stuff. Like it's that big a deal, kind of.
Honestly.
Yeah,
Okay. Now we're gonna go into a quick because this is something that interests me because I haven't started cold calling yet because I'm so busy on a day to day,
yeah.
right? But once March starts, I'm gonna be doing a lot of cold calling. So you've probably taken thousands of calls at this stage right now, right? What would
Uh,
be
yeah, close to it probably.
okay? So what would be your top five tips that you would give to yourself if you started all over again?
By far, I think the most important tip is to smile when you're talking,
Hmm.
and that's not over Zoom. Like that's just over a phone
Yeah,
call.
just over the phone call, right?
Yeah, because you say your voice is way more pleasant to listen to when you smile when you're talking, and people can
Yeah,
tell you're, and then they smile back even though they don't even like consciously know that you're smiling.
that's
It's like
crazy.
yeah, it's really funny the way it works. So that's number one, I think. Um, Beyond that, if you're starting cold calling on a given like segment of like people you want to target, or even on like a given day to a certain extent,
Hmm.
start with people you don't actually want to convert.
Hmm.
Instead of starting at the top of your list, start at the bottom of your list and nearly work your way up. Uh,
Okay.
because yeah, just I mean yeah, that works for lots of stuff as well. Like even when we were targeting investors and stuff, like people say target the investors that you don't want in your
Yeah.
company first, because they'll basically give you feedback,
Hmm.
and then you feedback to. But like for cold calling as well, like just in terms of like you'll be in the flow of it. Then by the time you get to people you actually want to talk to properly.
Yeah.
So smiling that. Um, I don't know, maybe just the third thing. So I'll probably struggle to come up with more, but
Sure.
the like don't like over prepare,
Hmm.
because with cold calling stuff, it's really a numbers game. So
Okay.
like you can prepare like a load for you can spend like 20 minutes or half an hour like reading up on a company or a person or whatever that you want to call, right?
Hmm.
And then you call them and they don't pick up the phone or they're busy. So they pick up the phone and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm busy at the moment,"
Yeah.
or they're maybe they're just in a bad mood, or they just don't. Even if they're in a good mood, they just don't want whatever it is that you're selling, or if you're doing market research, even they just don't want to be involved.
Okay.
Um, so like probably spending a couple of minutes just looking like, okay, cool, like 5 minutes per call, even just like quickly, okay, cool, this is what about this company or this person. This is the things.
Hmm.
Call, move on to the next one. Because no matter, even if you're 100% prepared, like you're optimally prepared, you can not possibly prepare anymore. There's still like a lot of factors that are outside your control, or not that actually works that particular call.
Yeah.
Um, so
Interesting. And
yeah, I think
what would your so you've converted obviously a few people already onto the service, right?
yeah.
Did you convert them through cold calling or was that through different means?
So a couple were through cold calling, a couple were through like cold emails, a few through like networking groups that we're part of,
Hmm.
a few through like pay-per-click ads on Google.
Okay.
And we've got signups through SEO, but we haven't actually. I don't think haven't actually got a paying customer through SEO yet. So they
Okay.
activated for trial and then didn't convert to a customer.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
used
like LinkedIn as
sorry,
well, actually. Like
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So I post a lot. So we've got a few customers come in through like LinkedIn inbound onto the site and then became customers.
Interesting. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Sorry, what were you going to say before I cut across you?
No, I was saying that I've tried to do cold emails and it just didn't work for me. I think cold Instagram DMs worked fairly well for me in terms of reaching out to, like, dentists and stuff like that. Cold email, it's literally I don't think I got a single response. I think I might have gotten one, and I've sent like over 1,000.
Do you remember what your open rate was?
It was really high. It was
Yeah.
really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'd say it was over 90% open rate, but
Yeah.
just nobody was getting back to me.
Yeah. Let's say in relation to the, like, I don't know, like the podcast, right?
Right.
Like you probably get emails sporadically, potentially from people like cold selling you stuff to do with the podcast, potentially.
Yeah.
Um, like if you read those emails, like what ones, or even on the boxing front, you potentially get people to, like, I don't know, doing like you get inbound requests from people or whatever.
Hmm.
Like, do you know what? Like, do you have any time where you ever actually like responded?
No, no, because I just thought about it now, and no, I never respond. But I think it's because I know that because the podcast is not as big as I'd like it to be, I
Yeah,
can't actually afford to pay anybody for a service at the
yeah,
moment,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I automatically know any email I get in, it's a potential sales email, so I don't read them.
yeah. No,
So
that makes sense.
that's the
But
first thing that goes through my head.
have you ever responded to a cold email or a cold call or anything?
Hmm. No,
That I was
that's so
hoping for like
funny.
one example, but like it's actually pretty interesting, isn't it? Like, it's like, yeah, but the like typically what we see when we do get responses, it's because you want to like someone to read like the first sentence,
Mm-hmm.
and even like on a just glass of water just spilled.
Oh.
Um, grand. Even on like the first sentence, you whether it's a cold call or a cold email or whatever, or even the Instagram DMs to a certain extent, um, the you want to see someone to see the value of talking to you like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you message me and like what are we doing at the moment? We're rebuilding our product. We're hiring a few developers over in Pakistan,
Mm-hmm.
and you message me and you say, hey, we could like I'll help you hire a team of senior developers in Pakistan, and their lead time until they start will be 50% less than anyone else that you'll work with. Like,
Yeah.
I'll probably, there's a decent chance I respond to that because right now that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone messaged me and they say, "Hey, I'll help you hire developers in Ireland," I'm like, well, we can't really afford to do that currently. So,
Yeah.
or hey, like I'm working with a college here and we're placing interns for developers. Probably won't engage with that because like we don't have the structure to support interns at the moment.
Mm.
But like very similar messages, like they're all offering to be developers, but it's like
Mm.
like that Pakistan one will be hitting me with like the exact thing that I'm
Yeah.
solve at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think to work, you kind of need to get that timing right, and that's the thing as well. Where it is to a certain extent, even emails are a numbers game. Where like you could email someone, and there could be 2 weeks of the entire year that they'd be receptive to your message because of
Mm.
whatever,
Yeah.
Um, maybe 4 times a year they get charged quarterly by their existing agency, and the week after they get charged, they're thinking, geez, they're very expensive. And and it's the other whatever 50 weeks of the year or 48
Yeah.
weeks of the year, like they're not thinking about it. So when you message
Mm-hmm.
them, they go, "Ah, sure, I'm
Okay.
happy with the work of my agency."
Right. So that's the kind of psychology behind it. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me, and that gave me a lot of insight there. Actually, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Um,
no worries.
in terms of um like like do you have like a script that you kind of formulate and then use that to call them, or is it just, hey, do you have time, can I take 2 minutes of your time, or is it like, you know how does that
Uh,
usually work?
Basically, you want to sound natural. Like you want to sound like you're having you want the person to think they're having a conversation.
Okay.
Um, like the ideal scenario, once again, if you want to like, so like, who are they gonna pick up the phone and chat away to? Is if their like best friend called them, probably.
Right.
And you're not gonna like, obviously that's a really weird like, you're cold calling a random person. But like the further you are away from that, the less likely they are to talk to you.
Okay.
So like if you're like, if I'm like, hi, and then I wait for them to say hi or something like in an awkward silence, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, my name's James. I'm calling from Connect
uh
More, and we can offer you guys more social media content.
mhm.
Like they're like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
um, but like if you're like, if it's more more natural, and you want to like frame it around, what they care about,
Hmm.
not what you can offer that, not what you can offer them, but like what they actually care about. So like,
Hmm.
if I rang up an agency that was doing, had this kind of, was in this kind of gray area where like their clients had been onto them, multiple clients had been onto them in the past few weeks to ask about the organic social media content, and they're like, well, we don't really provide that, but like, and they're trying to figure out what to do about those requests at the moment. And then
Okay.
I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? I was just wondering, do you want a hand producing organic content for your clients? And I hit that agency with that message at that time.
Yeah,
They're like,
that's
oh yeah,
exactly what they needed, right?
exactly. So it's like trying to figure out like what those triggers are, and it's not like a
Hmm.
hard and fast answer, but like we're still figuring them out for ourselves. Like that
Mm.
would be the ideal state, but like how before I call an agency do I establish they're in that state,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
And, that's for outbound sales in general. Like that's the kind of the crux of it is you need to know what your triggers are for your product or service, like
Mhm.
what sort of people are going to be receptive, and then you need to like be able to reverse engineer that to like how you can repeatedly target people that have that like specific need at that point in time.
Mm.
And then you hope that that's enough people and you can target them efficiently enough that you can like build a business around it.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm taking notes right now, so don't mind me.
uh,
This is very valuable for me.
Also, to be fair, I've never actually successfully scaled a company properly, so take it with a grain of salt. But
Yeah,
that's
but at the end
I,
of the day,
I'm,
it's you're just telling what you have experienced, what you know, built from your own personal experience. You don't need to be a millionaire to tell people about your experience,
yeah,
you know.
that's fair.
So
But I don't want to get too like into like pontificating and stuff, because like I think, I don't know, there's like so much nuance to all this stuff as well,
yeah.
Um, so like people will sometimes will have their experience, and then they'll be like, oh, this is the way you should do it, and they're basing it on their own experience.
Hmm.
It's like bad advice for like your specific scenario, because
Mm.
like your scenario, they didn't know
Yeah.
all the details, and they're like, this is one of the hardest things I've found with like entrepreneurship is like starting from zero. Like I was a software engineer, basically never run a business before, and over the last couple of years, I've just like learned a lot. But
Hmm.
like a lot of that is talking to people. But it's like if someone like, say in my case, has like successfully built a SaaS startup in the marketing space, even,
Hmm.
and they're like clearly like quite intelligent and they come across very well and they're very friendly and well intentioned. Like they're 100% well intentioned. Like it's really hard to know if they're giving me bad advice because they have all the triggers
Mm.
that I would like. That person should give me great advice, right? But like
Yeah.
we've literally had a scenario where like someone who met like was that exact profile had given us advice. It was terrible advice
Right.
because it's a complicated scenario.
Yeah.
Uh, so like it's really hard to know like when a well-intentioned, intelligent person gives you advice, like it's really difficult to like know what to filter and what to follow.
Mm.
Um,
That's interesting.
yeah,
I heard Alex Hormozy say this the other day. He said, give away the secrets, but sell the process, like because on social media you can't give specific nuanced advice, right? You kind of have to
yeah,
give broad advice, but if you want a specific piece of advice for your specific scenario, such as I'm trying to build a marketing agency that's targeting A, B, and C. How
yeah,
do I target these people doing this. You know, you could find a video on YouTube that'll give you the nuanced advice that's kind of like for everybody. But then
Yeah,
if you want specific nuance, okay, book a call. You know, if you want to know about your specific scenario, book a
yeah,
call. So that is the type of thing that like social media kind of provides, right? Most
yeah,
people should pay for like you have to pay for the knowledge, or else you're not going to get anything. Like you said, that person was super smart, super well spoken, super everything. But the fact it's because you didn't really pay for the knowledge, and it's because it didn't fit your exact scenario that you needed it for, and it ended up not working. So that's a note to people that are listening to actually just don't just take something that somebody says just because they're successful doesn't mean that their advice is good advice. It might be good advice, but just not right now. It's not that they're wrong, it's just that it's not right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, and even if you pay for it, like, it still can be wrong.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Not even. I don't think. Like, I don't think. I think we've stayed away from people who, like, on the advice of people that we like respect. I don't know if we've ever paid people for like business advice, like
Mm,
business consulting. Like when you're in startup land, the nice thing is that like everyone's really, really like open and welcoming.
mm,
So like obviously a lot of people are very busy, but if you get in touch and like we have like reached out to people who are like running like proper like multi-million euro startups that have got like millions of dollars investment and stuff.
mm.
And most of them, like everyone's like most people are very well intentioned, but like obviously those sorts of profile people are very busy, and you're just a random person reaching out to them. So like
Naturally,
you know,
yeah.
it goes back to the cold email thing of like how many, how they're getting their whatever our equivalent is, they're getting like hundreds of people every week like looking for advice from them.
Yeah.
But a few of them have come back to us, and we've had like calls and chats and stuff with like pretty successful people just by reaching out to them,
That's
and
great.
they haven't profited anything from it beyond like
Mm.
trying to help out someone who was in this they're in the same position 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Paying it
Um,
forward.
exactly, yeah. So like
Yeah.
you can get great advice when you're in the entrepreneurship space for like without paying for any of it. But yeah, so
Okay, interesting. And
yeah,
now, in terms of, I have a note here that said that you're looking for um, investment. All right.
yeah,
The question that I'd have for you there is, like, once you've probably heard the term a million times, once you accept investment, you've also kind of like, given away some of the control of, the product that you're building until
yeah,
eventually you're just kind of an employee in your own company, right?
yeah,
That's kind of my personal view, right? But, if you want to go fast, you need investment, you know?
yeah.
So like what's your views on that type of thing? Like, because for me personally, I think, you know, taking investment is probably like, like you're selling your ownership. Well, obviously you're selling your ownership, but you're selling like your how can I explain it? Um It's kind of like you're selling your freedom because you can kind of do what you want, but now you have to answer to people until eventually you're an entrepreneur, but you work as an employee in your own company, right?
Yeah.
So, like, why would somebody want to do that? Why would someone opt for that?
Um, so I mean, like the simplest, like a complete oversimplification, but something that I think is nice to like start with is like, would you rather own 100% of something worth €1 million
Hmm.
or 10% of something worth €100 million?
Mm,
You know,
yeah,
um, and some people would say they'd prefer to own 100% of the thing worth €1 million because they'd own €1 million worth.
yeah,
But a lot of people would say, oh, 10% of the 100 million, and then they own
mm,
10 million worth, even though they only own 10% of it, right?
yeah,
Uh, so there's a case where lots of companies where some sort of dynamic like that, where
hmm,
like they need the investment, and at the end of the day, the company's going to, yeah, they may only own 50% of their own company, but if the company's worth 3 times as much, like who cares?
yeah,
You
fair.
know. So that just is a general thing. Um, Also, actually, just to go back and correct it, we're actually not looking for investment anymore. We got a small bit of investment at the end of last year, and I was chatting to
Okay,
Daniel. We were planning on kicking off a proper fundraise at the end of January,
okay,
but we basically postponed it based on the small amount of investment we got at the end of last year.
hmm,
Um, so I have no issue saying this. We got like 50,000 investment at the end of last year, and that keeps us going with our business expenses to like the middle of the year. with their other kind of income streams.
Mhm.
So we were planning on raising like 1.1, 1.2 million and
Okay.
doing that process. We were planning on being in the middle of that process at the moment.
Mhm.
We basically, with the economy the way it is, with like everything's a bit dicey, especially early
Mhm.
stage startup investing kind of went off a cliff back in November.
Mm.
So we're like, cool, we'll just knuckle down with the money we do have and kind of like rebuild this version of the product and scale it up a bit, and then kind of in kind of autumn time, like looking at September, October, we're probably going to look at that fundraise and whatever that looks like, we'll figure out close to the time. But anyway, in terms of the invest, it's like, so that's one thing in terms of the ownership stuff, like, smaller piece of a bigger pie, right? It can be like, some people like that. And then also in terms of like the becoming an employee and stuff, like Zuckerberg only owns like 15% of Facebook or something. And that's typical for like companies that size, like that like go public and like they're
naturally.
Companies, the founding team may only own 10% or 20% or something by the time they hit scale. But like Zuckerberg is the boss of Facebook.
Yeah.
There's no one else that is the like calls the shots at the end of the day at Facebook.
Yeah.
So you can have like, you need to be careful about who you bring on board. And you can get investors who, like, we've talked to people before about investment, who once again weren't being malicious. Like, they were just, they're looking at the investment through their own lens, and they're kind of saying like, okay, cool, we'd invest, and then we'd want to maybe bring in our own person as the CFO, like the chief financial officer.
Yeah.
Because myself and my co-founder are engineers, right? So like I do all the financial projections, and we have an accountant that does the accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, obviously not like my strongest skill set.
Yeah.
So that was quite heavy-handed. Like, they're like, cool, like if we do invest, this is what we'll look for. Which, to be honest, would have been a no-go. Even if they agreed to invest, it would have been like, no, we're not doing that.
Okay.
So, but then you can take a step back, and some people invest in you and they'll want a seat on your board. So like the board kind of controls the decision making of the company, like any sort of high level decisions at the end of the day. So right now my board is just myself and my co-founder. So we could bring on, if we do say an investment round for a couple of million at the end of the year, the lead investor in that round, if they want, we'd probably be willing to give them a seat on the board, right? Because we still outnumber them, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But like that lead investor could be like someone that you get on great with, or someone you have a very negative relationship with after the fact. And then when you go for more investment rounds, you could maybe, a future investment round when you do like, so it goes like, typically like pre-seed is kind of the stage we're at now, which is kind of anything below $1 million roughly. And then kind of like something like 1 to 5 million is kind of seed stage investment. And then like 5 to 20 million ish is like Series A. Then north of 20 million is kind of Series B. And then some companies go down to like Series C, D, E, and they just kind of typically get bigger as you go up along.
Okay.
But like, say at each of those investment rounds you could get like the lead investor of the round could be like, we want a person on board, we want a person on the board, we want a person on the board. And then you get to the point where your board is 8 people, and it's you, your co-founder, maybe like some advisor that you like. Yeah. And then there's 5 investor people on the board. And then depending on your relationship is with those investor people, and whether like how well you get on with them, what their opinion of the company is, and like whether or not they're nice people, essentially. But like nicety to a certain extent gets to decide when you're dealing with, like, if you get to that stage, you're dealing with very large sums of money, and this all stuff. But like those 5 people could be like, there could be 2 of those that agree with each other on matters, but like everyone else agrees with you as the co-founder, the founder in the CEO. So like it's not an issue, which is the case. Like, I don't know enough about Facebook to like understand exactly how this works, but for those sorts of companies, it's a case of like they have enough faith in the CEO that like they'll just do what he like, even though technically everyone could potentially outvote him. But once again, I don't know the internals of Facebook. For example. Whereas if he brought on, a load of people that didn't like him or didn't have the same vision for the company, and suddenly they can outvote him, and suddenly he's losing all his power. So it's kind of, it can go both ways.
Okay, that's really interesting. Right, so that actually gave me some really nice insight there. Last question before we go. What was the question I had? Because I didn't want to interrupt. Oh gosh, it was a good one as well. Damn it. um, we spoke about that one already. We spoke about the Coca-Cola. We spoke about. It was. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Oh no. Um,
It's okay. If it got away, it got away.
if it got away, man. Um, yeah. So, oh shit, I got it there. It came, and it went. Right.
Uh, do you enjoy doing the podcast?
I do actually. It's really fun for me. I think I really want to build a community around this thing of people that really enjoy, uh, not only just conversation, but thinking alternatively. Not kind of because I've seen it a lot that when people do podcasts, they kind of just talk about everything and anything. But for me, I really want to just focus on this particular area in self improvement, so people can kind of take some of these principles and stuff like that I prescribe here or that I provide through some guests that I get on, and they can apply it to their lives. Like I can guarantee some people definitely got some value out of this episode. It might not, and a lot of the stuff like a lot of times on episodes, the thing that I didn't even think was valuable, someone will recite it back to me and say I took a lot from that because of where they currently are in their life, right? So I think the whole podcast kind of engulfs that, kind of pushes out like your life can also have a paradigm shift.
I know, definitely. That's yeah. Oh,
You know,
sounds good. You're
it's
so you're it's kind of obviously Tim Ferriss podcast is probably the biggest podcast in this kind of vein.
yeah.
If you're familiar with Tim Ferriss podcast,
No, I know Tim Ferriss. Yeah,
yeah,
podcast
and
is
then
huge.
and like Lewis Howe, uh, what is it? The something of greatness, like the seed of greatness, or
No, my goodness gracious, the School of Greatness.
school of greatness, the school of
Yeah,
greatness. Yes, that
School of
kind of
Greatness.
idea. Like,
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
people on and people enjoy something self learning. Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Exactly. Very, very similar to something like that. And I've just pushed the not deadline, but ultimately I want to turn this into something that's a lot bigger. And I just need to keep going. One thing that I do know for sure is if I make a 10-year plan for it, it makes everything so much more achievable. It makes things like, give me a lot more hope. And if I really want to scale it to where I really want to scale it to, 10 years, I could definitely have, my own studio production team. I can definitely have like an in-house kind of media team where I can do this, and from this I can have other things come out of it, you know.
Yeah,
So ultimately it's like, have the podcast but also have, like other podcasts that kind of come in underneath the banner.
and run like a media company basically.
Right. So that's the kind of trajectory that I'm getting at. But it'll all this will be the baby. This is
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it all starts.
Very
Yeah, I think I'll probably let you go. That's been an hour 12 minutes, believe it or not. Um,
Jesus.
yeah, yeah, it does fly. That's why you were a bit surprised at the beginning when I said it's going to be like an hour or something. Like, ooh, an hour. What are we going to talk about? But
I need to eat my dinner. But no, that's good. We're not still recording, are we? Or like,
no, I'll
or
cut
like,
this out. I'll cut this
yeah,
out.
yeah.
It's all good.
No, no. Thanks very much. It's good to chat. I hope I
Yeah.
wasn't like pontificating too much.
No, 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 it was good. I thought it was good. Anyway, wait, thank you a lot for listening, people. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good week. And thank you so much, James, for coming through. Appreciate it. And
Thanks very much for having me. It was really good fun. And if anyone wants to check out Connect More, there's no e at the end of the word more. You can Google that, and then you'll get to check it out.
nice.
Yeah.